After years of waiting, the follow-up to Ninja Storm 4 has been announced. Ninja Storm Connections is planned to launch this year, and with each new release of a Storm game comes new mechanics and features. And these are the 5 things I want to see in Ninja Storm Connections. Even though Ninja Storm 4 features a lot of stages, it doesn't have all of them. For whatever reason, every entry in the Storm series removes some stages from the previous games. Some examples include In Town from Storm 3 or the Final Valley during the day, which was in Storm Revolution. That game also had the Ninja World Tournament stage, which also didn't appear in Storm 4. My theory is that these stages were removed probably to save storage space due to the limitations of the 7th gen consoles. Since this game is being released on new hardware and is being advertised as a compilation of the whole Storm series, it gives them a good reason to add back all the removed stages. Along with all the stages, I would also like to see all the costumes make a return. Storm 4 had a lot of different outfits for the characters, but there were still some missing. I understand that copyrighted outfits like Naruto dressed with Goku's outfit and the Hello Kitty Sakura would be difficult to bring back, but this shouldn't be the case with Road to Ninja Sasuke and Hinata, which were absent from Storm 4. I also don't see why we can't have a pre-time skip Kabuto where he has his headband, or Tsunade without her. Quote, if Storm 4 could update pre-time skip Sasuke with his Land of the Waves outfit, then Ninja Storm Connections should be able to do the same thing for these characters. While speaking of the Land of the Waves arc, it's still strange that Sabusa still doesn't have his first appearance outfit in the game, which is something else that Ninja Storm Connections could add. In the Storm Revolutions Akatsuki story mode, while playing as Pain, you'll notice that his animal path is the male one that fought Jiraiya, instead of the usual female one. Maybe in Storm Connections, Pain could be given a variation where he uses the male path instead of the female one. They could even switch out his till with the one he originally had in Storm 2 to further differentiate the costumes. On the topic of Pain, it would also be nice if his Yahiko outfit would be updated so that the other paths are wearing the clothes they had before their deaths. I always found it a bit jarring that Tendo is the only one who has his outfit change and everybody else remains in the Akatsuki robes. And if that's asking too much, they at the very least could change their color palette to resemble Yahiko's. The last suggestion I'll make is for them to add a cloakless Sage Mode Naruto. This would make a lot of sense since during the War Arc, this is mostly how his Sage Mode appeared, and in Storm 3, during the Nine Tails boss fight, he already has the Sage Mode moveset without the cloak, so this asset is already in the game. Since this is the first Storm game in a while that covers part 1 of Naruto, this is the best opportunity to bring back the Storm 1 movesets. In Storm 2, all the adult characters that were featured in the first game were given completely new movesets. While this helped differentiate Storm 2 from Storm 1, the old movesets never made a return. I doubt that Connections will give Kakashi Guy, Orochimaru, and the others a new moveset anytime soon. Therefore, giving them their Storm 1 moveset is a good compromise, especially since Naruto and Sasuke already have several movesets, so I really don't see why other characters can't have multiple movesets either. There are even some instances where I prefer the older movesets, especially when it comes to characters like Kabuto. There's nothing wrong with Kabuto's Storm 2 moveset, I just prefer his Storm 1. The same applies to Might Guy, especially since in his Storm 1 moveset, his 8 Gates mode features different combos, while in Storm 2, his Awakening doesn't feature any changes in his combos. And if you're not a fan of the Storm 1 movesets, the Storm 2 movesets will always be there for you to pick. Along with some of the old movesets, they should also bring back all the normal and ultimate jutsus that didn't make a return in Storm 4. Storm 4 had a feature that allowed you to choose between multiple jutsus and ultimates for the leader character. Hopefully in Connections, you could do this with all members of your party. With this new added feature, they brought back some old jutsus. For example, Orochimaru received his sword dance attack that he only had in Storm 1. They could do the same in Connections for some of the Part 1 characters. This would mean that Rock Lee will be able to use his primary Lotus again, or Kabuto could use his Feather Illusion Jutsu. These attacks were featured in Storm 1 and never made a return. But this doesn't only apply to Storm 1. Revolution also had some jutsus that didn't make a return in Storm 4. One of them was Killer Bee's QB Lariat, and I remember Naruto having a Shadow Clone Rasengan. If rumors are to be believed, Connections may allow players to perform 2 jutsus in battle instead of 1. If this ends up being true, then that is good justification for bringing back the old jutsus so that it could fulfill that need for characters to have multiple special moves. I also don't see why they can't bring back the ultimate jutsus from other games as well. It was a nice surprise to see Storm 4 bring back some of the old ultimates that were featured in Storm 2. This includes Kisame and Killer Bee's old ultimates. They should continue that pattern with Storm Connections by bringing back some of the ultimates from Storm 1. Some examples are Jiraiya's Flame Rasengan, Naruto's Vermilion Rasengans, or something as simple as Might Guy's 100 push-ups. A lot of these old ultimates are already better than the ones these characters got in Storm 2, and if they're too long, they could be edited down to make them shorter, just like Storm Generations did. And just like with before, I doubt these characters are gonna have new ultimate jutsus and connections, so might as well just port over the ones that have already been created. Ninja Storm 4 introduced the feature of letting you select which ultimate, team ultimate, and jutsu your character uses in battle. This was a cool feature since it allows you to mix and match different jutsus with different ultimate jutsus, whereas in previous Storm games, you were set with whatever combination the developers chosen, which meant you couldn't use Fireball with the tuning exams Sasuke, or use the Amaterasu with the Alive Itachi variation. For Ninja Storm Connections, they should extend this feature to apply to awakenings. For example, if a character has multiple awakenings, you should be able to pick which one you'll use in battle. This is especially useful for characters like Sasuke and Naruto, who have their awakenings tied with certain movesets. This will also be good for Mecha Naruto, since in Storm Revolution he had access to the Free Tails awakening and the Mecha Kurama, but when he was brought back in Storm 4, he could only use the Mecha Kurama mode since instant awakenings were removed. Having the awakenings be selectable will allow you to choose which awakening you'll use in battle. The same applies to Itachi's and Shizui's partial Susanoo. Since in Storm 4, Itachi only has his full Susanoo available, this will allow Itachi to have 3 awakenings. They are his Tsukuyomi awakening from Storm 1, his partial Susanoo from Storm 2, and his perfect Susanoo from Storm 4. Selectable awakenings could also help out Momochiki, since it will allow you to choose between his movie or anime transformation. This also opens the door for the developers to add new awakenings that weren't in the previous games, like Curse Mark 1 for Sasuke, and the Sound 5 members. They could even keep the same moveset and just have a texture change. So those were the 5 things I want to see added in Ninja Storm Connections. I didn't want to bring up any potential new characters since I'm assuming the roster would consist mostly of people from Boruto, although it would be nice if some of the support characters from the previous games became playable, and some of the NPC characters too, like the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. I also didn't bring up anything with the online since everybody's in agreement that the netcode should be better. These are just the 5 things that I personally want to see added to the game.